Hey there, everyone. Hold on.
You're good.
I need to change my name. I don't know how to do that. There we go. I'm just going to change it to Adam. Okay, there we go. All right. Hey, everyone. My name's Adam, and today we have Max on. He's from Fun in the Sun, Bounce House, and Party Rentals. He's only 6 months old. Well, he's older than that, but his business is 6 months old. So how you doing today, Max?
Good, my friend. Thanks so much for having us on. This is awesome.
No, thank you for being on. It helps me out more than it helps you out. But anyways, so like I said, you're 6 months into this. So why don't you just go over the background and how you even got into the party rental business?
Man, it's it's one of my favorite stories, and I feel like any and everybody that comes into this industry shares this business. It's we got into this because I had a bad experience with somebody else.
Hmm.
And so we have a little girl, she's a year and a half old now, and we ended up renting a water slide for her first birthday. And basically, the guy that we rented from was a complete jerk. And when we went and we had him stake down our water slide, instead of using like the regular curve shaped stakes like you're normally supposed to do, this guy came in with these like metal shanks that pointed up in the ground that had like the tip on both sides. And so, I raised something being a concerned parent. And I go, well, what happens if my wife, my daughter, my niece, my nephew, or me, for frankly, if I trip and I fall on that? And this guy looks at me with a straight face and he goes, well, I don't understand the question. It goes straight through you. And
Wow.
the exact same face that you just had, Adam, is what I had. And then he one upped it from there and he goes, but you signed the waiver, so it's on you.
Oh, no, it's not.
No, exactly. And so here I am, a brand new father. It's our first birthday in the height of the pandemic. And so he starts getting nasty with me. And, we exchange a few four-letter words back and forth. And finally he goes to me and he's like, well, what are you guys going to do? Put me out of business? And me and my wife turn to each other, and I just finished with my MBA. And I'm like, yeah, why not? And so we realized down here in the, I'm down in Tampa, but there's a lot of people that are just like fly by the night companies, no insurance, not doing it the right way. And we saw a pretty big gap in the company. And so me and my wife, we were literally just walking and I'm like, babe, we could do this. We could literally put this guy out of business. And that's not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is, to grow a company, to build a legacy for yourself. But that was kind of the aha eureka moment. Um, so I literally just went online. I bought 2 units in June and I'm like, well, let me see what happens. Cause my thought was I had a little booking board and I go, hey, if we do 5 bookings for the year, these things pay for themselves. We're not broke. And like we broke that record in a weekend.
In a
A-
weekend.
In a weekend. And so I started from there. And then what I decided to do is I didn't buy directly from manufacturers because I had no idea on this. I'm Google by night. And so I ended up buying from Wayfair, and they have partnerships with Jump Orange as well as I want to say it's like it's not Bouncing Angels, it's like Jump Now or something like that, just like another small local manufacturer. Well, they had a 0% interest for 6 months. And so when I'm like, well, hey, I'm literally these 2 units are out Saturday, and then I'm doing them again on Sunday. I'm cleaning on site. Like I'm bringing in $1,000 a weekend with zero marketing dollars. Like, okay, let me just try. And so I went and I bought an extra unit, 0% interest, and then all of a sudden all three are out every weekend. And so I did that again, and then a fourth, and then a fifth, and then that's how we've worked our way up. And like I was sharing with you before we started, we've got 15 units, we've got games, we've done foam parties. Um, I'm doing legitimate websites now. I started out on Wix and I moved to Bouncy Castle Network about 2.5 months ago, and that was probably the best decision I've also made because it's paid for itself and then some.
Right. Um, I want to go back to that guy real quick. So, like, he doesn't even put cones over his
No,
steaks or anything on them.
it was literally just a metal shank that was up there that was holding it in. I'm like, I don't, number one, I didn't even know where the heck this guy got him from. It literally looked like a World War II style spear
Right.
with no
Wow.
cones, no roping, and like every single rule that you break in the books. Like he ended up like putting them together. It was this raggedy extension cord. We had a shed right next to it, and so if it deflates, the kids can't get out of this thing. Just a terrible experience in retrospect now. Like, and that was me not knowing anything on the industry, and like here I am today, knowing what I've learned just from my knowledge, me growing from people. And I'm like, man, number one, how do you sleep at night? And then number two, like someone is going to get hurt, and then what are you going to do? You're
Right.
not going to be able to hide behind a waiver.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I'm assuming you probably didn't have insurance. Um,
Probably.
and did you? So what happened? Everyone's going to want to know this, so we'll just address it now. What happened? Did you take the unit? Did you get your money back?
No, basically how it ended is I just go, look, dude, if you're not fixing this, I'm rolling you up in it and you're leaving. So eventually he ended up leaving. He came back with like sandbags or he did something, but it took the stakes away. He took the stakes away. And then we ended up using it. And then, like I said, I basically just paid this guy $300 to talk to me like I was dog crap for an hour.
Right. Yeah,
So
that's not good. All right. So your very first experience, you learned a lot of lessons that you didn't have to make, or mistakes that you didn't have to make.
yeah.
All right. So you started with 2 units. What were your first 2 units?
First two is so the name of the other company was Jingo Jump. So the very first one we had, they have a 13 by 13 with a 3 foot slide. That unit's named The Sky's the Limit, which is named after our daughter. Um, we still use that one every weekend. And then I also had a 13 by 13 with an 8 foot slide Ninja unit from Jump Orange. And that one, I want to say that was like $1,000 investment. It's easily made us 12, 13 this year.
Right. That's awesome. So you mentioned something that you did in the beginning, which is what a lot of people do. They use a board or an Excel sheet or a notebook or whatever, because they obviously don't have stuff,
Mhm.
that much stuff. Like when I first started out, 3 tents and the tables and chairs to go under them. I kept track of it in an Excel sheet. Literally made an Excel sheet with 365 tabs for each day of the year, so that I could keep track of things.
Mhm.
So that worked for a while, right?
Mhm.
And then, but then as you get more units and like having to keep track of things, you decided to go with one of the rental softwares,
Mhm.
and you picked Bouncy Castle Network. So, and this is not an advertisement for Bouncy Castle Network or
Never.
anyone, but without getting too much into Bouncy Castle Network,
Mhm.
what is the advantage of having a rental program? Like, how has that? You said it paid for itself.
Yeah. So I'll actually even step back because I didn't do Excel or any of that. It was I had a whiteboard and I had a little bell that I would ring every time we got a booking, so my wife would hear it like it was a room service. Um, but what I found myself doing when I very first started, because again, you learn it's trial by error, it's knowledge by a community. Um, I basically started and I was using the Wix platform, where if you don't know, it's fully not optimized for bouncy castles or any of that. Customers would go in, it was a pre-selected site that would just say 7 a.m. delivery time, and it would take you to another page that would say, when do you really want drop off? Do you want it at 11, 12, whatever? So I would then read all that information in email, copy their name, their email address, their um, location, when they want delivery, um, what was being rented, and then I would transfer that over to the Square Appointments app. And that actually got me in trouble a few times because I didn't know it was texting the customers, hey, your appointment's at 8 a.m. And I'm getting text flooded back in. I thought this was for 11:30. What is this? And I'm like, great. So now I have to defuse all of that. And then if you wanted to add in tables and chairs, which I also added in, you had to go back in and then you had to book those individually. So that being said, it became a nightmare very fast. So when I ended up going on over, just again, like you said, not an advertisement for BCN, it's the first one I've worked with. The biggest advantage is they have what I like to call a silent salesman. And basically, if you go on my site right now and you book out my Dueling Ninja water comp with one of the first 2 units I talked about, before you scroll and add in all your info, it's also going to ask you, would you like to add another bounce house unit? You're going to probably say no because you're not a regular event. And then you're going to go down below that. It's going to say, well, do you want to add tables, chairs, concessions, cotton candy, games, all of that? And where that's made it kind of better for me is I've now been focusing more on customer wallet share. Ideally, I'd much rather do 5 appointments at $300 than 6 appointments at 210.
Right.
It's less work, more money. And so that was a huge advantage for me. The other huge advantage is all the data was completely centralized and completely located. So I didn't have to go back through and, like you said, the Excel spreadsheet concept of back and forth and all of that.
Right.
S-
And then it also is easy for them to like book online, right? Do you allow online booking?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It makes it easier for them to book online. And then the other big one is it also allows it where they have some pretty cool analytics where I can go back in and see, like, okay, well, these are customers that are clicking on my units that say, oh, this unit isn't available this week. And now I'm kind of seeing what's my even more popular SKUs when they're not rented. So I now know later on, like, hey, I might need to have two of these SKUs because this thing is being requested every weekend. It's only going out two
Right.
times.
Yeah, definitely. Also to see like what just really isn't going out and you might be able
Exactly.
to sell or whatever, or
Exactly.
change up the marketing for it. Um, you say you do foam parties. Now a lot of people are, interested in foam parties, but they don't
Hmm.
really know like how if it's
Yep.
gonna work. How are they gonna
Hmm.
market it? Is it doing well for you?
We've done well. We've done well with it. It actually, and my biggest advice to anybody listening: make friends in this business, not enemies.
Okay.
um, how this actually started is where we live, and one of the largest ones here in Central Florida. We're one street apart from each other, and so, needless to say, we're sharing a market together. But kind of the concept here that I've had is say you're a one man crew and you've got 50 units. It's physically going to be impossible for you to have all 50 out every weekend by yourself. You're going to get
Right.
exhausted, terrible service, or next thing you know, you're leaving shanks in the ground like the last guy. But that being said, what ended up happening is I made really good friends with one of the other operators here, and he did kind of the opposite of what I just said. He was completely booked. And so somebody asked for a phone party. He didn't have it. And next thing you know, he's calling, hey, Max, I don't want to let these people down. I have a big event this weekend. Are you able to cover this phone party? You take care of the booking, I'll do the rest. I go, yeah, sure. And so we basically just went, set up, did our very first one. And it started from there with them giving us that lead. And it's just all word of mouth. But the biggest thing I'll say, when you're looking to get into these phone parties, it's not a drop your unit off and pick it up 3 hours later. You want to be there and you really want to man the experience. And the other thing that you really want to focus on, I like to call them C factors: that smile, engagement, enthusiasm. Um, if you're smiling at the kids and you're shooting foam at them, parents aren't worried about it. And next thing you know, at the end of the party, hey, let me get a business card. This was so cool. I only thought of these as clubs. I never thought of it as a business party, or as a kids party. I'm sorry. And we started them like that. We also really focus on, if you don't have speakers and music, go to your local Sam's Club, go buy a $200 speaker, hook up Pandora to that, add that music, add that foam, and then the other thing that I love to do is I'll actually go about halfway through into the event and I'll go to one of the parents and I'll say, hey, you know what makes this really memorable for the kids? Go on and get in there with them.
Right.
And next thing you know, the parents are emulating that C factor feature I just told you about. And then at the end of it, man, this was awesome. We had no idea. We'll definitely be using you guys again. You have a customer for life. I've had that call. Then on top of that, I'll also say, on our foam party events, when we do just the basic stuff like I just shared with you guys, I'm getting about a 30 to 35% tip on the final bill off of every encounter that we've done.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Another not advertisement, but who's the foam party machine from?
Yeah. So I went with Foam Daddy. I went with Foam Daddy for that one. I went with them for the semi cannon. So I had one of those, and then I also have like their small one that just puts basic foam on the ground.
Okay, that's cool. So are you like when you're allowed, when the parents will let you, are you taking video and like making like advertisements or anything out
S
of them?
No, so with those, I don't really mess with the videos and stuff like that because it's hard to man the foam party, make sure the parents are good, control the music, control the foam. We'll take a few pictures here and there, but a lot of our stuff is I'm leveraging the manufacturer's content. And so,
Okay.
like you said, not an advertisement, but Foam Daddy does have some pretty cool videos. And then with our site, I went on Fiverr and I had flyers made, so that's my basic picture. And then from my basic picture, you'll click on that, and then there's a video that shows you what the experience looks like as well.
Okay,
Um,
that's awesome.
and so
Um,
um,
okay.
one thing I was going to add on that, Adam, is I also diversify with that. We also do glow foam, and
Oh,
so
cool.
all those different things, just to continue diversifying your SKUs is huge.
Right. So you're using their like marketing stuff. Like, where do you put it? Like Facebook, Instagram? Like, how are
Y-
you
Yeah,
getting that word out?
a lot of it is in these local groups.
Oh,
From where my customers are taking pictures of their own kids and they're saying, "Man, Fun in the Sun killed it this weekend. Do this." And then in terms of like I have a lot of organic word of mouth, and then I do have a Facebook ad campaign that we shoot up as well that goes like $100 a month and significant ROI on that one as well.
right. That's cool. All right. So you got the foam thing, the foam cannon.
Mhm.
So what units did you end up growing into from your two first units?
Man. So I have a few. One of the big ones, I'm a big fan of Jump Orange. I just love the colors for me. And it's a little bit cheaper every now and then. But I ended up from those two, we grew into they have a giant dual lane mermaid slide. And I had fun fact, when I first started, I had no idea how to roll these things. Like nobody taught me the fold over method. So we literally just would go on the side and roll them, and then I'd have a unit that was 13 feet
Right.
but I started there and then I worked my way. Kind of the idea was when we started, it was like gender neutral and then anything in water because I'm here in Florida. So I had just a
Right.
basic red, yellow, blue, and then I had a pink and purple unit. Um, I had a pink and purple unit that took off. And so I started with that, went to the girl stuff. We ended up adding another combo unit, and then a few other multiple combo units. And kind of my philosophy here in Florida is those legitimately are going to be able to be used year round.
Right.
Um, it's November, it's still kind of hot, and then when it gets cool, they're like, "Hey, we'll just use the slide anyway." And
Right.
so I've kind of focused more on those here as well, just to counteract the climate because it gets 105 here in the summer.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've heard. Like, so basic units, combos for sure, and
Yeah.
water. I've
Yep.
heard from a lot of bounce house owners don't even worry about like, you know, multiple things like the obstacle courses or the I don't even know all the names of them, but the ones
Yeah.
that are just more complex. They're more for like a corporate gig or an add-on kind of thing, not your everyday
Yeah.
backyard party. Do you own any of
Exactly.
those like uh the one that spins or the big ball that you throw at each other or joust or anything like that?
No. I didn't do any of that either. I still work a full-time day job as well. Um, but I never really thought about the obstacle course stuff. And then as I met more friends in this, I start hearing, yeah, those units are like 800 pounds.
Right, right,
And I'm like, I'm strong, but I'm trying not to hurt my back. I'm 26. I'm trying not to be in a walker by the time I'm 40.
right. All right, speaking of hurt your back, actually, it's a good segue. What sort of equipment do you have to get these around?
Man, biggest thing, get a good dolly, get a good dolly, and get a good dolly. The unit I was telling you that I had no idea how to roll. I also, fun fact, when I first started, I didn't know the importance of a good dolly. I just went to a
Right.
local Home Depot and I saw there was one and it said, "Yeah, this little hand truck will hold 1,000 pounds." I go, "Well, this unit can't weigh more than 1,000 pounds. Like, let's try it." And I'm literally taking it to a customer's backyard, and while I'm rolling it off of the back of the trailer, both the tires completely rolled out or blew out of it. And so now I have a 600-pound unit that I have to like drag through St. Augustine grass. First time setting it up. And so I'm literally sitting there. I'm rolling. My wife is there pushing, and I'm just like, I'm earning this 300 today. I'm
Right.
completely gassed. Um, so it started there, and then on the picking it up was even better because it rained that day. I didn't have a dolly, and so now we're dragging, pulling, and we had a 6 foot trailer at the time. I'm like, babe, let's just pull this thing in like it's a dead body, drag it in. Took us over an hour to put it on the trailer, and then get it back into the garage. Like we'll figure it out later. It's like I'll burn it if I have to after this. But kind of segueing into that, I still don't have an electric dolly. I figured, I'm like, hey, let me at least earn a year of stripes before I start using some of the luxury stuff.
Right.
But I found on one of the local apps like garagesale.com or something like that. One guy was getting out of the bounce house business and he had a dolly custom made that I bought off of him, but it was basically just a huge, giant red dolly. It's like 8 feet tall that holds all of our heavy stuff. So I have one of those. Biggest thing I'm going to tell any and every one of you guys is if you don't have rolling straps, get rolling straps because if not, your back is going to die later on. But I got some of those. I just recently got a wedge because I'm not lifting heavy stuff like that um, by myself. But that's for the transporting stuff. Equipment wise, or I'm
Wait,
sorry.
wait, hold up. Before you go on, what is a wedge? I've never heard of this.
So what a wedge is, it's like, so say you have your unit on the ground completely.
Mhm.
Well, then the wedge it's another inflatable you put just directly underneath it. You take your blower, plug that in, and then it blows up the unit off of this wedge or whatever. And so it actually ends up like lifting it to where it's on your dolly. So you're not having to like pull it and then try and push it up.
Oh, okay, that's cool. All
Yeah.
right, sorry to interrupt. All right, so you're
No, you're good.
going on with the equipment.
But no, so I ended up getting that. And then for regular cleanup, big advice I'll give for you guys is have a leaf blower to get all that water out. Have a towel while you're rolling as well. Ideally, clean at the time of pickup so that way you're not having to take everything out and redo the work a second time.
Right.
Um,
Efficiency, especially if, like you have a normal job, everyday
Yeah.
job, right?
exactly.
Cool. All right. So, what is your delivery situation like? You mentioned you had a 6 foot trailer. What do you got now?
Yeah. So now we were thankful enough. I was able to get into. I ended up buying my own work truck. That ended up having a extended bed, so all my tables and chairs go in there, and then I have a 14 by 6 trailer now.
Okay, enclosed or
No, nope,
oh,
just regular. I haven't messed with enclosed just yet, but that's going to probably end up being one of my next purchases when we do start diversifying and adding 2 or 3 more crew members.
right. So, where do you store everything?
Grandma's garage.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah, everything's in the garage. The true American entrepreneurship spirit of a garage company startup, if you will.
Right.
Like I said, man, I had zero idea. Number one, be frank, I didn't know what I was doing when I first started. It's again trial by error and knowledge by committee. And so I had all that, and then we have some in our garage now too, because I just don't want to pay. I don't want to pay a storage facility just to hold my stuff. So
Right. So, hopefully, more people see this than just the bounce house people who already exist. You say knowledge by committee. What do you mean by that? I know what you mean by that.
yeah,
What do you mean by that?
biggest thing, if you aren't in all these Facebook groups, if you're not in, like the Event Hawks, the inflatable business owner groups, any of those, you're gonna miss a lot. I literally sit there. I'm probably on Facebook 60% of my day right now, and it's just reading posts from each individual owners. Hey, what would you do in this scenario? What would you do in this? Or foam parties good? Fun fact: I didn't know about foam parties. I didn't know what the pricing was. I joined one of those Facebook groups. Next thing you know, they said, "Hey, foam daddy's good," and I'm like, "Well, how good is it?" They go, "We're making $400 to $500 for a 2 hour party." I go, "All right, it's really good."
Right.
um so like it's just like the little stuff like that, and then next thing you know, I'm finding out about BCN or inflatable office and the importance of those bookings, and then I'm an Event Hawk, and now I'm like, wow, I literally, what the knowledge I've taken in 6 months has truly just become like I've learned from everybody else's knowledge, experience, and errors along the way. And it helps that, like I was telling you, that guy that was a block over from me is one of my best friends now, and we talk almost every other day as well. He has 6 years in the business, and so I'm learning even more from him. So if you're not in those groups and you're not making friends with your competition, you're gonna miss out on a lot. And what could take you a year to learn, it's gonna take you 5 to 6. So
Yeah, exactly. The Facebook groups
yeah.
are a big help, and there's a lot of people on there who will help no matter what your question is.
Mhm.
They'll help you out, even if the question's been answered 1,000 times.
Exactly.
Some people may be like, "What are you asking this for again?" But most of the people will help you out. And on the competition side, I view it as there's more than enough business to go around.
Yep.
No one company can even handle all of it.
Nope.
And there's no reason to ever turn down a job. I do tents and stuff.
Okay.
So like if I did a wedding and the wedding is going to be $12,000, but I don't have 50 chairs, I'm not going to lose that whole wedding because I don't have 50 chairs. I'll book it and I'll figure out from one of my competitors who I made friends with to get the chairs.
Yep.
Something on your side, like you're not going to want to lose a water slide, a cotton candy machine, a bunch of tables and chairs because you don't have, I don't know, one of the other things they want. So would you go get that from one of your competitors?
Oh yeah. We go back and forth. One of my best memories I've had is um, I ended up having one of my competitors end up reaching out to me. They're on site for a foam party. Everything was working fine, and then the foam machine stopped working middle of the party. And she can't get a hold of her husband. She goes, I don't know what to do. So I'm the very next call, and she just goes, "Hey Max, do you still by chance have your foam machine in your garage?" I go, "Yeah, why? What's going on? Like, did you guys just want to check it out? Was it a question?" She goes, "No, I'm on site right now doing a party. The unit stopped working. There's over 200 kids here that are expecting foam." And literally I dropped everything right then and there, and I go, "All right, I'll be there in 15 minutes."
Right.
And but stuff like that goes even farther because on the flip of that, I had an event that I ended up almost losing because I don't have 50 chairs. I've got 40. Next thing you know, I go, "Bro, can I borrow 15 chairs off?" He goes, "Here, just take 20 just so you have extra." Um,
Nice.
like you said, there's more than enough of this to go around, but if you're going to be stubborn and prideful and, not make friends with your competition, you're just going to isolate yourself from your success.
Oh my God, that's so good. Isolate yourself from your success. Sorry. Um, I'm going to use that somewhere.
I like it. I'll take a 5% royalty, Adam.
Right. All right. All right. So you said you got tables and chairs.
Yeah.
Do you have any tents?
No, I don't do tents. I thought about doing it, but then, I kind of asked that question around a few times, like, "Hey, what do you guys think of tents?" And they're just like, "Yeah, there's just a lot of irrigation lines down here in Florida."
Right.
Um, and
Um,
so,
what I've seen with some bounce house people, especially down near you, is they're just doing 10x10s and 10x20s pop ups,
mhm,
and then using concrete blocks that you make in a bucket that you could move around with pretty much any dolly. And then, I mean, that's pretty much all that they ever need, and it's a quick few $100, or 10x20 is maybe $120 to rent out. That's the most I've seen people do is the 10x10 and the 10x20. All right, I got a question because I come from the tent world where we use
okay,
where we use wooden tables. Are
mhm,
your tables wooden or plastic?
plastic.
Right. Okay.
They are
Uh,
plastic. And bro, literally how I got started with those, it same thing. My very first customer, when we ended up going to them, and I remember, I'm just like, again, when you have your first customer, if this is your first or your 100th, you always have that chest beat moment at first of, man, like I just don't want to screw up. I just don't want to screw up, blah blah blah. And so my first time, I ended up getting there, and they had 60 chairs that were delivered to them from another company. And we went there, and I looked at them. They were all just completely rusted, dirty, all that. And the customer actually said to me, she goes, "Your unit's clean." I didn't tell her it just came out of the box, but
right.
she goes, "Your unit's clean." She goes, "If you guys did tables and chairs and it was upkept like this," she goes, "I'd love just keep going off of you guys." And next thing you know, I find myself going, "We could do this too." And so
Right.
I didn't know all the manufacturers. I just got the EIN number, and so I ended up creating a Wayfair business account, and they had 10 chairs on there. It was like $400 for residential or regular customers, and through the business it was like 105.
Right.
And next thing you know, I'm like, "All right, screw it, I'm just going to grab 30." And then I'm like, "No, we'll grab 40." And then I learned from everybody else because they go, "Yeah, we're giving 150 a chair and 125." And everyone's like, "I need to raise my prices for next year." And I'm like, "I'm not even going to mess with that. I'm going to raise them today." And so now I get $3 for a chair that cost me $10 to buy back in June.
That's awesome. What kind of chairs are they? Are they the ones that like stack together in a stack or?
Yeah, so it's just like these basic black ones, and then for Thanksgiving, I'm gonna say this: like tables and chairs, Thanksgiving and Christmas were huge for us,
Right.
and I I'll tell you right now, I had a lady pay almost $200 for 15 chairs and 3 tables for Christmas Eve.
Wow.
And she was just like, "Well, I can't go anywhere else. I have nowhere to store them. You're my only hope. I'm more than happy to to pay that."
That's awesome.
Um, but I ended up like buying those, and then I went to like a local Home Depot the day before Thanksgiving because I overbooked myself, and my buddy was all booked out, and so I just threw some of those in, and so now like I've branded these like regular white folding chairs as premium chairs. I get 325 for.
Right. I know that. I saw we overbooked during graduation weekend by a lot of tables.
Hmm.
So I had to go around to every single Lowe's and Home Depot
Yep.
and pick up plastic tables. I do get the appeal of plastic tables. Certain ones. There's some that I got that are more like a rough texture and
Hmm.
they just get dirt like crazy. But the ones I got from Lowe's, they're like smooth
Yep.
and they just never get
Where I went.
dirty. What's that?
I said that's exactly where I went. Now, question for you, because you're the table. Do you do rectangular and the circular tables?
Yeah, because I do a lot of weddings, so like every wedding is going to be circular, basically, unless they're trying to save on room.
Okay.
Not a lot of graduations are circular unless it's kind of in a richer neighborhood. They just kind of want this feel, but because the rounds take up more space, you need to rent them a larger tent. So, like having round tables actually makes you more money
Hmm.
because you have them, and then people want them but they need bigger tents in order to do it.
Look at that. I just learned something. Should add that to my product SKU list.
Right. Um, so you said you have games. What are some games that you're renting out, like your best
So,
ones?
so they're coming. I actually got those in the IAPA pre-sale, but I just bought a Basketball Connect 4, a regular like free throw shooter for like the smaller kids. I also have the inflatable axe throwing and skee ball. And then I also went and I added like a regular like giant Jenga and giant Connect 4. And at first, one of my buddies, he goes, "Don't do that. They look cheap. They've went out every weekend." So
Right. Wow. When you said games, I thought you were just going to be talking about the Connect Four and the Jenga, but you're getting those inflatable
yeah,
games.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
those are cool.
one of the biggest benefits, so they should be here for me next month. But like I'm literally going through on the back end, biggest piece of advice I want to give to any and everybody. It's like know your data, know your analytics, know what your customers like. Every week I'm seeing on there, customers are like, "Well, I actually want this," and it's like 18 times since it's been added to the website in December. Like people have tried to book it, but I don't have it available.
Right. Yeah. That is very important. Like, I don't have a fancy rental program like ERS or Castle Network.
Hmm.
Mine was one of the ones where you just buy it and then you're done. It doesn't
Yeah.
have a lot of those online features, but we keep a piece of paper on the wall by the desk, and when
Hmm.
people ask for certain things, we'll mark it down. Once it gets to 10 times, it's like, okay, this is a good investment because 10 times is usually when you make your money back on a lot of
Yeah.
things. But yeah, knowing what people are asking for is key. And like you said, analytics.
Yeah.
Um, do you have like Can Jam and Cornhole and
Not yet. Not yet. I've thought about recently doing like a giant backyard beer pong style.
yeah,
I thought about doing that. I haven't really. Fun fact, like I'm terrible at cornhole, so I'm kind of like I'm against it.
yeah,
Like no one else is gonna like it because I'm bad at it.
right. No, everyone loves it.
No, I know
Um,
everybody loves it, and but like down here, I every party, wedding, graduation I go to, I see cornhole. So I'm almost like, are people gonna rent it, or do they already have one, or do they have a buddy's buddy that had one? So
right. I
we'll
mean, they're
see.
not that much to get into. You
Yeah,
don't have to go super expensive when you first begin with. But yeah, a lot of like say maybe they own one, but they're gonna have a bunch of people over. Maybe they want 3 sets, but they're not gonna
yeah.
go buy 2 more. I talked to a lot of bounce house people, and they got like these little add-ons, which you wouldn't think is anything crazy,
Mhm.
but they say they add up if they can get them out for every party. Do you do things like coolers and garbage cans and things like that?
No, not yet. I haven't thought about honestly. I thought about doing the garbage can stuff because if you're gonna do a big event, like 6 to 8 trash cans is better to have than two overflowing that you got to change every time. But Haven't messed with it, but you know what? I'm gonna write that one down for me because I actually think that's a good add-on as well.
Right. Yeah. The people I talked to said they're like little add-ons that don't take up a lot of room. They're kind of cheap. It's $50 for a 120 quart cooler from Walmart, and it goes out for $15. And usually they're getting a few of them out because no one's just renting one. They got a lot of drinks.
Mhm.
So yeah, it just was just something to think about. All right. You're only in 6 months. You've learned a lot from all these groups.
Mhm.
But what is something that you made a mistake on that someone else can learn a lesson from?
Man, got a few.
Yeah. Okay.
I would say the biggest advice I can ever give is don't overpromise something. If you can't do it, don't be afraid to say no. Um, and I know it sounds condescending a little bit of like, well, what do you mean? Like you're saying no to more money? Like, no, I don't want to do that. But I had an event where, or not an event, but just like a regular rental where I was doing everything down where I'm at in Ruskin, and then somebody called and like, hey, I want to actually do another rental, or I want to do a same day rental in Tampa, and that's about 45 minutes away. Normally, I don't cover the area. And so I'm like, well, man, like he pulled at my heartstrings. His daughter's in the background crying, and I'm like, all right, I can do it. Just tell me what it is. Like, tell me when you're ready, and we'll go ahead and we'll do it. He goes, well, the guy canceled today. I need to do it right now. And I'm like, well, I got one more. I can do it in an hour. So I go to load everything, units clean, all that. Major accident. Takes
Mm,
2 hours from when I originally promised the guy to get there. And I go, man, I'm so sorry. He goes, well, don't even worry about it. Like the party's already almost over.
mm,
Um, but if you do run into that, because I'm the yes guy. If you ask for it, 9 times out of 10, I am going to tell you yes. Um, I would definitely say learn your friends in the business. If somebody's closer, or somebody that's having a shorter weekend than you, don't be afraid to give that away. Because when you give them 120, they might have something for 150 coming back that they can't do that they'll put back in your pocket.
right.
Um, that one's big all day. The other big one I would say is don't try to don't try to compete with everybody else. If your next door neighbor's got $10,000 units and you've got $1,000 units, don't make your next purchase a $10,000 unit. Buy
Right.
buy 10 of those at the exact same thing and maximize revenue until you're ready.
Right. That's very good. Yeah. Maximize revenue until you're ready. Don't just start trying to get all these crazy things.
Yeah,
Max out what you're good at, what's your lane, I guess you would say.
exactly. Stay in your
Nice.
lane, diversify, and just add that wallet share, man.
Yeah, definitely. On the thing where you said overpromise, I was actually just talking to someone about this today. Uh, he he's got a customer who needs a tent for 120 people, which we would normally put in a 30 by 40,
Mhm.
but he's only got a 20 by 40 and a 20 by 20. And he's like, what do I do? And I told him, just be honest with him. Say, this is what I always say. I always lead with this. I say to the customer, hey, not trying to take money out of my own pocket. I'm just trying to help you out. And then in this instance, I would say, you'd really be more comfortable in one tent at 30 by 40. However, I can do a 20 by 20 and a 20 by 40 end to end or next to each other, and it'll be just fine. But you'd probably be better in a 30 by 40. And I understand I don't have that. So you're not going to go with me. But if you go with someone else, that's fine. I just want to let you know. And
Mhm.
then 9 times out of 10, that person is like, oh, yeah, I appreciate that. Honest. They don't say this, but in their head, they're thinking, I appreciate his honesty. He told me what I really need if I want to do it a certain way. But he can still accomplish it. I'm going to go with him.
Yep.
And as long as you're honest, and I like the first sentence, not trying to take money out of my own pocket, just trying to help you out. It usually endears them to you a little bit.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. All right, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
Such short notice, too. I think we talked less than,
4 hours ago.
yeah,
I,
exactly.
I
But
love it.
all right, man. Thank you.
You're welcome, man. Thanks for having me on, brother. I
Yep,
appreciate it. And I hope I was able to help out.
definitely. Have a good night.
You too, bud.